So, Mitchell, tell me more about Kondo. What is it? Why did you create it?
Yeah, so Kondo is superhuman for LinkedIn. It's an awesome email app. It helps busy tech founders, executives, salespeople get through the email real fast. I used that for many years for my email, and at some point, I was doing lots of LinkedIn DM messages, and I was like, why isn't there the same thing for my DMs? Why is this LinkedIn inbox crappy? Could someone build me a superhuman for LinkedIn? And no one did. So now I did, and we call it Kondo. It's a much better inbox experience for your LinkedIn messages where you can label messages, set reminders, categorize your inbox, leave notes, or save messaging templates. Everything you're used to in a messaging app, just for your LinkedIn DMs.
I've played around with it. I found it super helpful. I'm
Mhm.
happy to share my experience later on. But just for the listeners, we'll have the
Mhm.
actual link in the descriptions, but it's
Mhm.
Kondo, not condo, like Condo, like we say in
Correct.
Singapore, which is the place where we stay, or some people
Yeah.
stay. I stay at HDBs. But yeah, so just for those listening.
But I think the Singaporean Asian crowd should be familiar with Marie Kondo, whose name we took inspiration from.
I was going to ask you, they're probably more
Yeah.
familiar with her. Good to know. Now, you built it, you're growing it. Take me through the go-to-market plan. You don't have to spill everything, but what is
Yeah.
the strategy you're using?
So Condo was an idea in May, right? Me and my co-founder sat down. We had a list of ideas, what feels like it's most likely to go somewhere. And then we picked this thing. We've been building it for the last 5, 6 months. And really, we didn't know if anyone was gonna use it or pay for it, like just 3 months ago. So we're like, hey, we built this thing, it's a tool we want, we pay for it, but like how many people will use it? We launched a beta. We just knocked on doors everywhere, say, hey, if you want to use this thing, are your LinkedIn messages a mess? Want a better inbox? It's free. Give us feedback. We had a successful beta for 2 months. Big creators on the platform from Singapore, from the US, from Europe, from Australia, all over the world, they just showed up. And we got a lot of feedback from that. And just 3 or 4 weeks ago, we decided to turn on a paywall and say, hey, if this is actually helping you, pay something for it, and we're at 100 paying subscribers now. So I'd say like we've crossed a reasonable milestone where we have convinced ourselves as founders of this thing that there is some demand for it, that we've created something of value that someone is willing to put their credit card behind it. That's where we are. Yay, we have a real business now. We're not thinking of pivoting, doing something else. The road ahead is really long. We're bootstrapping this for this to be a sustainable, profitable business. We need thousand paying subscribers in the next year. How do we get there? That's tough. There are so many ways to plan and give yourself targets and things like that. But I've just chosen one simple target, which is I want to grow revenue, recurring revenue, 7% every week. So I just look at the last weeks of revenue. I'm like, this week my goal is 7%. If we made it, great, keep going. If we didn't, why? If we exceeded it, even better, right? It's important to keep metrics simple early on, right? You don't want to spend your time playing around with metrics or making plans. You want to spend time doing stuff. So we're gonna do stuff, and whatever it is we're doing, if we hit that 7% week on week, we're good. Keep doing it, right? At some point, we'll plateau. At some point, 7% is gonna be real hard, right? 7% is real hard if you have 1,000 subscribers versus 100. But that indicator will, hey, there's something not scalable. You need better tactics. You need bigger tactics, right? So go fix something so you can achieve that bar.
Yeah, and I'm curious if we could take a step back. You said the idea came from your frustration with the LinkedIn inbox and how you compared
Yeah.
it with Superhuman. You built the beta first and then you went to potential users and you say, hey, what are your thoughts? Or was it in conjunction with feedback you got?
We had a clear idea of the tool we wanted. One unfair advantage is we're users of our own product. I use Condo every day. I find bugs first. We had a clear vision of what it should do, get strong opinions about how the product should be. Some users are like, I don't agree with your UX, right? But we're like, too bad. Like we think this is a better way. But I definitely think that in the 2 month beta and even every day, every week now, maybe to a lesser extent, we're learning how to build a better product all the time. Feedback helps a lot. It helped early on. We have a demo video up on our website. That's actually 2 months old. So if you go watch that video, I watched that video and I'm like, how much has our product changed? It has quite a bit, but in essence, it's not very different. It's still recognizable. I still use it as a demo video for the product we're selling 2 months in. So I think the product vision was strong. We had a blueprint, and the users helped refine the last 30 to 40%.
Got it. So you had a blueprint in mind, and then they helped you refine that based on your frustration and challenges. If you
Yeah.
could take me through, because you mentioned you have 100 paying customers, which is great. How did you get those 100 customers?
At first, it was outbound. We found people with heavy LinkedIn inboxes. We actually figured out which of those people use Superhuman, and I messaged them. It's probably LinkedIn message. So I basically prospected people who were me, found out who they were, and I hit them up. That got beta users, and some brought friends. Since the beta, not all users paid. We've grown since then, and 95% of that growth has been organic. So people have shouted about us to their friends, to their colleagues, something like that. It's been all inbound. My calendar is still full this week, last week, next week with inbound leads. That's how it's growing.
Got it. So you said that you found out that they were using Superhuman, which is a similar product, but for email. How did you actually figure that out? Is there a Chrome extension or
Yeah,
an app?
Superhuman tells you if someone else is a Superhuman user. It's a little hack. It's public beta. Superhuman makes it public to all other users of product. We're paying subscribers to Superhuman. So it was manual, but we figured it out.
How did you get the email address?
This problem has been solved. So we pulled lists of people who are highly active on LinkedIn. We enriched their emails with a tool called Clay. This is an easy problem. I just manually ran the list through Superhuman and found out who's a user.
How did you quantify who is an active user? Number of followers? What were we looking at?
That's hard. Satya Nadella has like, I don't know, 1 billion followers. I bet he's not very active on LinkedIn. He probably doesn't even touch it. He's whatever. Like my
Yeah.
comms person posts something. Number of followers is not a great proxy for how much value you derive from it and the messaging component. It's a combination of who you are and what your business is built on. If you're a CEO of a large company, you probably don't do any business development through your own LinkedIn. If you're a founder of an early stage company, maybe you're still in there hustling, prospecting every day. It's like your job. You need some kind of follower count. If you have 20 followers, nothing's happening. You might have 1,000 and they might be very good followers you're trying to start conversations with. How active you are in the feed is also a good proxy. If you're posting every day, it's because you want to generate traffic to your profile. You wouldn't be doing that unless you're trying to expand your network, get opportunities for your business or yourself. We triangulate between these things, but it's never a perfect guess. And so the best way is just go ask people. And then if they're like, dude, I love this for email. I don't need this for my DMs. Thank you, but no thanks. So you just get no's, and that's okay. People self-select.
If I could ask more on the tool, because you mentioned the activity on the platform. Is there a tool to do that, or was it a manual? You looked at someone's feed and you say, okay, this person's posting a lot. Maybe they're in the DMs as well.
There are tools to do that. I knew how I would set it up if I wanted to scale it. At first, I did it manually. I visited profiles manually, and I had a column in my sheet, which is yes or no. And then I accumulated all the qualified people, and then I reached out. But there are definitely tools which can help you with this. There are tools that will scrape recent posts, right? Yeah, there's a established playbook around prospecting on LinkedIn, and you can basically visit pages, collect recent posts, quantify their engagement. You can do all sorts of fancy stuff nowadays.
Yeah, I'm curious because there's two different, maybe they go conjunction, one of which is scraping and pulling their activity feeds on the platform. The other is based on their potential usage. They mentioned founders as one, you mentioned business development as one persona. Have you identified a persona, or you guys are just putting it out there and seeing what sticks?
I think we had hypotheses about what was a good persona. By selling it, what was the stickiest customer base, and it was actually one I didn't expect. I expected founders, recruiters, salespeople. Even thought VCs might use this, but VCs are a terrible customer for us. Most inbounds in LinkedIn are bad leads, and ignore them. The segment I didn't expect was I discovered this world of solopreneurs, of agency owners, right? Of people who basically have some kind of niche expertise or service. They offer consulting, they offer a course, they offer some kind of boot camp, yeah, in their area of expertise. These entrepreneurs sell services almost exclusively on LinkedIn. Why? Because on LinkedIn, they build a brand, credibility. You see who they are, gain trust by their background and what they're saying. And they message you and they're like, hey, seems like you want to learn this thing, want to try my course. And then you're like, yes. And then they make money. For these people, every DM is money. If you miss a DM, because it got buried, you're losing money. Somehow, Kondo has been sticky for folks like that. I would onboard one of these solopreneurs. They'd be like, in 3 days, they'd be like, Mitchell, in 3 days of using your tool, I found 50 leads I've missed otherwise. I made thousands of dollars. I'm going to pay for this, right? That does not apply to B2B. B2B SaaS founders tell me, I found a lead I missed. Cool. The lead is very important. But for this segment, it was so intense a pain. And the reward was like so quick. The ROI was almost instant. They've become our best customers.
I love that because it goes back to what many founders struggle with, identifying the right target audience. You mentioned you had a hypothesis, but then it was solo entrepreneurs who needed it more. Were there any other unexpected surprises that you found out? Maybe doing different marketing channels, what's worked, what hasn't worked. And maybe I can share my experience first, and then you can maybe know if that's indicative.
Yeah.
So I told you on our call, hopefully I'm not sharing too much, but I heard about you through a content creator I follow on LinkedIn. She was talking about this cool tool on LinkedIn. I spend way too much time on there, so I was like, let me see what it's like. She was taking me through the demo. I don't know if it was your demo or her own demo. I forget which one it was, but she was taking me the process. And it's like, oh, this looks pretty cool, pretty simple to use. And then I think, if I remember correctly, I messaged you and I said, this is really cool. You sent me a Calendly link and we went through a demo that way. Showing the demo, me reaching out via LinkedIn versus email or the website, and us facilitating a short conversation via your Calendly link and walking me through the demo. I want to share more about the demo later on, what you did well, because I was sharing this in my class of future founders. Actually, yesterday I was talking about you, but I'm going to shut up.
You need to give the honest review to your audience here.
I'm curious, in terms of your channels, what do you think has been working so far? Is it you pushing out content from your own channels, the website, other content creators or influencers? What's been working in terms of getting actual customers?
Yeah, I'm still figuring that out. I'm in experimental mode, right? I'm trying to find the channels which will scale up business, and I have not found them. The customers came from somewhere. And I think they come from word of mouth. And I guess word of mouth is amplified to some extent because LinkedIn is a social network. And you don't know these creators as personal friends, but you become LinkedIn friends because you see them, you feel like you know them, and so you trust them. That's probably why you showed up. I think word of mouth amplified by people on the platform. But if I were to say there was a channel that's working more well than others, or I want to double down on, I think it comes back to who do you trust? There are a million tools out there. Who do you trust to recommend tools you're just going to use without asking too many questions? And the answer is close communities, business coaches, someone a bit ahead of you, someone you trust enough to pay for expertise. Some creators run courses or have groups. They have a WhatsApp group, or they have some Slack channel somewhere where these are people they trust. These are their people. And when someone recommends a tool, they're not doing it for fun. They're doing it because it really helped them. These close communities have driven the most very high qualities for us. When someone just discovers us from a post, they show up and, okay, what's this thing all about? But when someone comes from, hey, my coach, who I'm paying hundreds, thousands of dollars to teach me how to run my business better, right? They told me I should use this. I'm basically sold, right? So long as your thing is not a dud, I'm just going to do what this guy told me because I trust him to teach me how to run my business. I think that's been the best channel for us. I'm thinking of ways to double down on these closed communities where people trust each other for recommendations.
Yeah, I like the trust factor. I think that's how I heard about you. The challenge for you and every marketer on the planet is attribution. Because you mentioned that if it is a closed network, there's no really way unless you start sending out like affiliate links. Ironically, Descript, which I'm a power user, they sent me an email this morning asking if I wanted to be an affiliate partner with them. I'm guessing if I do that, there's some way to track how much revenue I'm bringing into the company. Beyond that, have you figured out any other hack to figure out where the revenue is coming from? There's the usual, how did you hear about us when you fill out the landing page or contact us? Have you figured out anything else?
I think affiliate marketing is, if not broken, a bit problematic, right? It gets into just like tracking game, and sometimes people click this goes back to the buyer journey, right? It's not like people click on your link and then they instantly sign up. They might click, poke around, go to sleep, go somewhere else, and then one day you're like, oh, I need this thing, and then I won't go back to the link. I just go to the website and do it again. Attribution is tough. We shouldn't attribute anymore. If people show up, if you're doing if I'm going after 10 people with coaching courses this week and get a good lead flow, just keep doing it. Maybe it was some other silent channel generating this inbound. Can't know for sure. Early stage, tell me if I'm wrong. Your audience can tell me if I'm making a huge mistake. But my gut feel is screw attribution. Like, so long as what you're doing is somehow working, don't try and figure out exactly why, which way, exactly where it came from. Just keep doing it. And when you're not making progress, ask where do we go. An interesting way to shorten the buying journey for me is, hey, if a coach is going to recommend people, why don't I just go to them? This week I was asking some of these coaches have been really interested in Kondo for their clients. I'm like, hey, you have a regular meeting, right? Can I go to one of them? And then can I set all your people up with Kondo live? And then they get a free trial, whatever, you get something from it. That's a sure way to do attribution. If I show up one of these and I get 10 signups and 10 people pay, I know where it came from. They'll just keep doing more of these. Yeah, but still work in progress.
Yeah, I like that going to where the source is. If I look at my business, how it grew organically, everyone tried to go to the end user, but they don't really trust you enough. The question is, how do you build that rapport when no one trusts you? And so what I did in hindsight that worked out very well is reaching out to people who knew me at the same level. I wasn't necessarily the CMO or CEO because they're like, this person's not worth my time. I had good relationships with marketing managers and some directors at companies. And so they were like, yeah, Joe's cool. I like his content. Boss, you should speak to him. Or yeah, I think he's all right. Let's go ahead and work with him. So it is very counterintuitive. And this is once again my learning the hard way because I always went to the top. I said, CMOs, they have to be, we have to go because they're a decision maker. And I see my clients, not all my clients, but many of the clients making the same mistake that I did, going for the very top, but then realizing that maybe the person at the top isn't really interested in what you do. Maybe it's not their priority and maybe they don't trust you. By going to that manager, it's easier to facilitate the relationship because they're more open-minded and they have more time. They can refer you internally. That's my approach on the B2B side. But I think from the B2C point of view, how you go to coaches directly and say, you're hopefully finding value in the platform. Would you have me share this with your audience? And I think that's a brilliant way rather than going one-on-one. It's almost like a B2B approach. B2C marketing and sales is really tough. I started my career doing like Nike, Mercedes-Benz, but they already had established brands. So it was pretty easy. When you're starting a new B2C brand, I'm like, it's tough. So I love that you've switched it up to some extent and taken the B2B model, going with coaches and service providers and taking some of their audience. That makes sense.
I think a lot about it's a prosumer product. If you don't run or work for a business, you don't need LinkedIn. It is an individual product for now. I learned from B2B leverage sales. You want your sales calories allocated appropriately. You want to put it on things that are going to have an ROI. So you don't want to go after every last product marketer in a company and chase entry-level product marketers. You want to leverage. From the B2C world, I learned, hey, actually, you want to find distribution, right? If there's this company, Sex Chocolate, the guy hacked growth and by getting thousands of micro influencers. He pays them a little money and make a video of my thing. Doesn't matter what. I don't care what you make. Just make a video of my thing. He pays people to make these things. They weren't very expensive because they had small followings. This thing went crazy. He spent time acquiring the distribution into the consumer rather than the consumers themselves. I'm learning it's not a B2B motion. It's not like the coach is buying 20 licenses, right? They often aren't. They're just asking their people to. And so what I'm acquiring is someone to distribute my product, like an affiliate or brand ambassador. And if I scale this well, my current hypothesis goes, I don't need to hire people. I just do more of these deals. My CAC goes into some deal with all these people who will be my distribution.
I really like the idea of Sex Chocolate, if I heard that correctly. Hired creators or micro influencers to create videos about their brand. They can publish on their own channels.
Yeah, some of these people didn't even have channels. So they're like, let's just go make Sex Chocolate 1 Buenos Aires or Sex Chocolate 1 Houston, Texas, whatever. They just the idea was this guy didn't want to make his own content. He didn't want to like manage an army of marketing people. He wanted to not do anything and get like insane word of mouth and get virality. So I'm gonna get 1,000 people to make 10 videos each, and one of them is gonna go viral. And he's just let's chuck as many bets at the algorithm as we can, and something's gonna go viral. He doubled down. He said, "Hey, people, this is how a viral video is made. Go make this thing." And then everyone was making that thing. And so he hacked virality without making a content himself. He let the market self-select what content was like viral. And he said, look at that. I didn't make it, someone else did, but it went viral. So you guys go do the same thing and you'll go viral and get money. He decentralized distribution for his product. I like that idea. In computer science, you think about a lot. So, like, how do you decentralize your distribution efforts? You get self-functioning autonomous points of distribution where you do a little upfront, but it runs itself. There's a CAC, but it shows up revenue, right?
I love that idea for larger clients. Brand reputation is a big part. So you can't just have anyone creating videos. Some clients are in the education space. They will basically train these people to do that. So they have like an ambassador program. They train them and then they say, hey, run loose, blah, blah, blah. But I forget if they have to get internal referral, like internal approval before they publish it. I forget the process, but there is some mechanism where it says, okay, you can't just put out anything you want out there because it could potentially damage your reputation. But if you're a small brand, you're starting out, screw it. You don't have a reputation, so you can put out whatever you want. That's the caveat for the larger brands listening to today's episode.
Yeah, depending on your product as well, right? I pick who I work with, like coach. I don't do deals with it. Any old person who shows up and says, "Hey, I want to distribute a product." A lot of people starting to show up now. Yeah, maybe there are only so many ways you can go wrong if you're selling sex chocolate, right? It's probably your product and your stage, right? If you're early, you have nothing to lose, so do it. But if you're building some healthcare product, you probably don't want to go crazy with your brand. But if you're building a fun app where you use AI to build random cute creatures jumping around your screen all day, you can go crazy about it. Yeah.
Absolutely. I always use the example of Crocs and their Ugly is Beautiful campaign. So Crocs obviously had a sense of humor, not a serious brand if you want to do that. But if it was Louis Vuitton, I couldn't see Louis Vuitton going out and putting out a bunch of crazy videos because once again, it potentially damaged their brand or dilute it to some extent. I'm curious, how do you find out about all these case studies or examples? You're very connected now in Silicon Valley, originally from Singapore. How do you stay up to date for fellow entrepreneurs?
I'm not very well connected. If I show up at a party, nobody knows who I am. But I would say I meet other founders, and I'm bootstrapping this business with my co-founder. Other bootstrap founders, or founders in general, I think like 0 to 1, we're in the same boat. Life is hard. We're hustling every day. When you're SaaS founder, you meet other people, you get along. I went on a walk with this guy and like, tell me how to run my business. He asked how I would run his business, and you trade notes. That's where you get some of these ideas. I also listen to a bunch of podcasts. I scroll on LinkedIn a lot. Pick up things here and there.
What has been the biggest surprise so far in starting or growing the business?
So my goal is to run a business I enjoy because it's hard enough to do a startup. I might as well love the product and have fun with it. That's one of the reasons we picked this idea. The unexpected thing is I'm having fun in other ways as well. I'm actually quite introverted. I don't like networking. It's awkward for me. But now being on LinkedIn, selling a LinkedIn tool, telling my story of building the business, met people outside my natural networks. I've met some in person and I've had fun getting to know people from different industries, walks of life. It's changed my social life. I grew up in Singapore, then I moved to LA a couple of years ago for my spouse's job. I don't have a natural community here. Like, where's the Singaporeans? Some Singaporeans don't want to have fun. We just want to code in our Snapchat offices. I've been struggling to find a community in LA. Strangely, this has helped me find some semblance of a community. Last week, I just met these folks who found me through Kondo, and they run a design agency. And they felt like my people. They felt like the people who had jobs, left their jobs, were starting something of their own, trying to tack together a business. I wouldn't have made these connections if I didn't start Kondo. I found strong, vibrant professional connections that I didn't expect.
Yeah, I think it's the exact same situation in my case. I was wildly introverted. I hardly ever step out of my house and talk to anyone prior to starting the company. But I always tell entrepreneurs networking is one of the most important skill sets you should have, because without that, it's really tough to either grow the team, to get your clients, et cetera, et cetera. So same way as a fellow introvert, I don't know, you enjoy, but it does push you out of your boundaries a little bit.
Who's a friend you made, Joe, that you wouldn't have made otherwise if you didn't do this LinkedIn stuff?
I've been fortunate to make friends with top content creators and influencers in Singapore and Southeast Asia. And I don't think it would have happened if I wasn't pulling my own weight and creating my things. People like Simon Camp, David Fillermi. There's a ton of other people I've been fortunate to meet simply because of the content and the presence that I've been able to build. So yeah, I have a long list of that.
Nice. Cool.
Awesome. Mitchell, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate you sharing your story.
Thanks.
Awesome. For everyone watching and listening, highly encourage you to check out Kondo. Include a link in the comments or the description. Feel free to share today's episode. Tons of helpful nuggets. Thanks so much, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care.
See you.